Irish guy, and oh, for Man United fans, oh, this just gets worse and worse and worse and worse. I mean, not only was it bad enough being forced to watch your team ship 4 without reply to Liverpool, but now Arsenal, another fallen giant who've also mostly spluttered about like a diabetic ostrich for years. But now, like a schoolyard bully, they just spent 2 hours dunking your head in a toilet. I mean, let's be honest, Man United's fall from grace since Fergie left has probably left a large core chunk of the Old Trafford fans coming home every week from the match and contemplating whether or not to jam a spoon in their eye. But at least things were never as bad as Arsenal, right? I mean, 5 years ago, Man United were lifting the Europa League. The same season the Gunners were losing 10-1 in the Champions League and treating their greatest ever manager as if he was some pervert at a playground. I mean, honestly, if there were no barriers as stewards at the Emirates, I wouldn't have put it past one crazy Arsenal fan to run onto the pitch and hit Wenger in the face with his child's lunchbox. Things were oh so very ugly. But now, oh lads, Arsenal are what Man United wish they were. I know, if you're a Man United fan, just take a deep breath, alright? I realise that very sentence sounds like an insult laced with lead. As if I've just accused you of making love to your grandmother at the back of the bus. Wanting to be Arsenal, I know. It's like me trying to convince you that you secretly wish you were an Eskimo who spends 9 months a year drinking polar bear piss. But look deep into your hearts because you know this is true. Mikel Arteta is everything you wished Ole Gunnar Solskjaer would have been. An exciting, enthusiastic, vibrant young coach, brimming with energy and new ideas, who's successfully bringing through a core of equally hungry young footballers who fight for the badge. Good Christ, he's even managed to get a tune out of Eddie Nketiah, and I think we'd all pretty much accepted that he had the goal scoring ability of a donkey's belly button. But lads, now Arsenal are in pole position to finish 4th. Lads, the Gunners project is going to be back in the Champions League next season, while Man United, you're on course to finish 7th behind West Ham. Honestly, David Moyes was sacked for finishing 7th at the club 8 years later, and you're about to finish 7th behind him in the league when they've got Craig Dawson at the back and you've got Ronaldo up front. What? As for this game, Ralph Rangnick, who with every week increasingly looks more and more like a science teacher who gets bullied in the staff room. Ozzy, you just know that the school rugby jock coach probably gives him a wedgie in the toilets and pours coffee on his shoes. But anyway, this fella dropped Harry Maguire to the bench. I mean, to be fair, this isn't exactly a decision which should make time stand still. I mean, the media reacted to this the same way as if they just found Elvis on the toilet. But nah lads, I mean, he was dropped a month ago too for that home game with Watford where guess what? They kept a clean sheet without him. But no, this is arguably the biggest game of the season. A blood and thunder clash with Arsenal. A must not lose game where Champions League football is at stake. And you shove your captain on the bench. And why? Because somebody threatened his house. I'm sorry, I don't care if he found a grenade in his porridge. Get this man out on the pitch. Listen, yes, I know these sort of cowardly threats are childish and should not happen. But let's be honest, it's probably some bored 12-year-old sending an email on the bus. Listen, if I was Man United manager, I wouldn't start Maguire either, but Ralph Rangnick seems to believe in him, so get him on the pitch. Poor old Eric Bailly though, this was a guy literally begging Rangnick on Instagram to give him a start this week. Instead, nope. In comes Victor Lindelof instead, who typically chucked in the defensive performance of a squashed omelette sandwich. I mean, it's a week of Erics at Manchester United. One of them is probably currently dancing around his living room in Amsterdam, having landed one of the most lucrative jobs in sport, and the other Eric is probably crying into his pillow. And the other one, I don't know, eating newspaper and watching Tom and Jerry in the nude. Canton is a weird guy. Anyway, Arsenal won the game 3-1 in a match where Bruno Fernandes wrestled the ball off Ronaldo. And not for the first time this season, misses. I thought we put this to bed after the Aston Villa game in September. If Ronaldo was on the pitch, Ronaldo should be taking the penalty. Honestly, whose idea was this? What absolute lunacy. It's about as clever as trying to annoy Mike Tyson on a plane. I mean, taking a football away from Cristiano Ronaldo and depriving him from another goal. Honestly, this would have meant that this fella, despite having left England at age 24, would now have as many Premier League goals as Cruella de Vil had puppies. I mean, you know that bag of Dalmatians she wanted to turn into a coat? Honestly, Ronaldo, I know he's had a terrible week, but a part of him must have felt like shoving Bruno's face in a fire. But Fernandes is having an absolute shocker right now. Honestly, since signing his new big fat deal, he's just morphed into Lisbon's answer to Joey Barton, aiming wild aggressive tackles at Trent Alexander-Arnold and now Nuno Tavares. Honestly, this week he's just reverted to being some sort of zombie Michael Myers. Except instead of trying to murder school kids in the dark, he's just hell-bent on stamping on the ankles of full-backs. I mean, I worry about Bruno. Some players, when they earn their new mega money contracts, they just turn into a different footballer. I mean, the likes of Emmanuel Adebayor and Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang. Oh, as soon as they wiggle that pen on the coffee desk, they then tend to morph into centre forwards who've got the energy and spark of Snorlax. Just a couple of dead Chol Ameyobis. But Manchester United right now are a mess. Paul Scholes has just come out and announced to the world that Jesse Lingard told him the dressing room is a disaster.
Former United midfielder Scholes said it's an absolute mess, it's a disaster of a dressing room. I had a quick chat with Jesse the other day and I'm sure you won't mind me saying, he said the dressing room is just a disaster.
Won't mind me saying. Sorry, Scholes, do you understand what a secret is? I mean, do you really think that Lingard will be happy that you just blabbed to the media and officially outed him as a dressing room rat? Scholes, do you understand what a secret is? Honestly, I hope this guy never watches The Departed, or the plot would just confuse him. I mean, if this was a Sicilian mafia, then you've just blown Lingard's cover and he's soon going to be getting stabbed in the boot of a Jeep. But also, can I ask, what is Lingard doing talking to Scholes? I realize I sound like a protective parent, but Scholes is a 47-year-old man. The last time these two worked together, Lingard was 19 years of age. I mean, sure, he's now nearly 30, but clearly he wears baggy jumpers and still tries to act like a kid. I mean, is that Jesse Lingard or Jesse Pinkman? While Scholes is a grumpy old man who probably wakes up every morning with a burning desire to choke a cat. Honestly, it's a bit weird they stayed in touch. But Arsenal, I know they've got games in hand, but they ended Saturday night just 2 points behind the champions of Europe. Yes, they had a wobble recently, losing 3 games in a row against Crystal Palace, Brighton and Southampton. By all rights, that's when Arsenal's top 4 challenge should have caved with 4 defeats in 5 games. I mean, Piers Morgan was ready to scream his anti-Arteta agenda from his lungs and tell the world how the club should have done everything in their power to keep hold of Aubameyang. No, he's a moaning sulk. Honestly, I know PEA is doing well at Barcelona right now, but are we forgetting Aubameyang, just like Adebayor, he starts well at every club he goes to. It's only about 18 months into the marriage, he starts acting like a slob. I mean, the question isn't about his ability, it's more due to the fact that he's got the professionalism of Frankie Kokoza. Having Aubameyang at a football club, you don't know what you're going to get. Hey, it's like agreeing to share a bed with Johnny Depp's ex-wife. Sure, you could be served crumpets and tea in bed, and you could also be cleaning a poo off the pillow. You never know what you're gonna get. But the job Arteta is doing is bordering on incredible. Norwich 0, Newcastle 3. Eddie Howe is a miracle worker. I mean, forget the job he did at Bournemouth. This is quickly beginning to look like his best work. Let's not forget, Newcastle United, we're doomed, right?
I have to be honest, and I'm saying this now, I don't see Newcastle staying up.
So Newcastle United are relegated. That's a fact now. Newcastle United are going down with $1 billion in the bank.
I think we'll be cut adrift, and I think January will just be too late for us.
There is no way that this team can now survive. Trust me, I have done the mental arithmetic around this, and I can conclude that it is impossible for them to survive.
Yeah, after drawing 1-1 with Norwich on the 30th of November, everybody, and I mean everybody, was preparing for a Newcastle relegation party. The entire internet was convinced that Newcastle would go down. Voila! Oh, look at you all now. Lads, I knew the takeover would save Newcastle, but I did not expect this. This is a team who had to wait 15 matches to get an actual win this season. And even that was a squeaky 1-goal win over Burnley. I mean, they say Steve Bruce was mistreated and shouldn't have been sacked. What was he? What the guy currently sitting 13th in the championship with 4 wins in 15 games for West Brom? I knew Newcastle would survive with Howe, but I did not expect this type of turnaround. A team who couldn't buy a win before December. A team who in many people's eyes were already relegated at Christmas. And they're now 9th in the league. And look at all that green. Since bottling a victory over Watford in mid-January, it's been 10 wins from 14 games. 10. What? 10! Sure, there was a 5-1 disgrace at Tottenham, but in the other 2 games, they only lost them in the last minute. But this is confidence. Joe Linton under Bruce. In his second match for the club, he missed a glorious header at Carrow Road. And now, he's thumping in 2 goals. I mean, playing Norwich now, it's a tough game. Christ up, they're battling for their lives. They had to go to Old Trafford last week, and factor in the fact that Newcastle hadn't actually won in the last 7 trips to the ground, going back to 1994. The Geordies typically enjoy a trip to Carrow Road as much as you'd enjoy a visit to the dentist who keeps touching your crotch. But now, Newcastle fans aren't scared of anybody. I mean, look at the difference. This is a Newcastle fan at Carrow Road in 2019.
I'm embarrassed to walk around in my Newcastle shirts. Absolute embarrassed. That performance out there was pitiful. Yes, 3-1 probably looks flattering. It doesn't. It should be a hell of a lot more. It looks flattering for us. getting beat 3-1. Now it should be 5, 6, 7. It was that easy.
And this is him now.
Newcastle are currently sitting in the dizzy heights of 9th. Wow. That might change over the weekend, but it's mad. It's absolutely mental. You enjoyed your day out?
Newcastle fans are actually excited to go to these sorts of stadiums now. Christ above, they're even getting excited about the goddamn hotel. Yeah, getting excited about a B&B in Norwich. That's how you can tell Newcastle are winning games. I mean, if you'd showed me this second half of the season graph at Christmas, I would have assumed that Eddie Howe would have dragged in a bunch of world superstars to the club. No, I'm sorry, Matt Targett, Dan Burn, Chris Wood. Let's not forget, Steve Bruce had a better centre forward up front. The only true star who's come into the team is Bruno Fernandes. I'm sorry, what a footballer. The Brazil Samba boy, what a joke. Here he was, dedicatedly lifting a chip over Tim Krul. I mean, Newcastle fans are not used to seeing this from their midfielders. Good grace, if Sean Longstaff attempted that, he'd probably break a hip. Honestly, Newcastle are playing both Liverpool and Manchester City in the title race. I don't care who you are. You do not want to play Newcastle right now. Man City 5, Watford 1. Oh, Watford, I feel bad for this loss. I know the Man City takeover changed the scope of football, but still, there's still been plenty of smaller clubs who still managed to stand up to them and grab a scalp by beating Man City at least once in 2008. You know, the likes of Burnley, Sunderland and Hull, Middlesbrough, any of them. But Watford, they've come up against Middlesbrough 15 times since the takeover and lost every match, with an aggregate of 58 goals to 8. I mean, in 2019 alone, the City stuck 17 past them in 3 games. Honestly, for the Watford fans, every time they see the face of Pep Guardiola, they must feel like vomiting up their lunch into a wet paper bag. Listen, Man City have some massive tests to come in the next 5 games, namely West Ham and Wolves away. These are big monster matches which will decide the title. But, I mean, this was never in doubt. The Hornets, I'm sorry, they've got the backbone of a dead fish. Listen, I know Roy Hodgson started the great escape with Fulham by coming back from 2-0 down to rescue a last-minute win at Man City, but that was 2008. This is April 2022, and you just watched the opposing striker score 4 goals. Roy Hodgson, why did you bother to take this job? Brentford 0, Tottenham 0. Brentford are ridiculous. I'm sorry, but they are. Since Christian Eriksen joined, they've been one of the form teams in the league, and lads, they were just a width of a post away from beating Tottenham. But they should be worried because right now, Man United are hovering around Christian Eriksen. I mean, don't get me wrong, he's a brilliant footballer, but is he really the Old Trafford saviour on a free? Because to me, there's not much separating him and Juan Mata, who the club have now decided is about as much use as a paper-mache kettle. And trust me, stick Mata into this Brentford team, and he'd also have a really good impact. But for Brentford, it is imperative next season, if you want to avoid second season syndrome, you have to keep your 2 best players. I mean, honestly, it's like the Sopranos. I mean, if you decide to get rid of Tony and Chris, nobody's gonna want to watch. Leicester 0, Aston Villa 0. Steven Gerrard versus Brendan Rodgers. I mean, you might see the battle of the old firm, but to me, forget the public praise and false, empty respect they show each other on TV. I'm convinced there is a small but very real part of Steven Gerrard who must secretly feel like punching Rodgers in the teeth. Because to me, I know they had good times together at Liverpool, but let's be real, Rodgers will always be the guy who benched Gerrard against Real Madrid. A monster ego like Steven Gerrard does not take that one well. Christ above, it made him quit the country and join the MLS. But Leicester versus Aston Villa, this was always interesting because it was the battle between James Maddison and Jack Grealish. The battle of the number 10s. I mean, I think it's obvious that Grealish won that. Got a £100 million move to Man City, and he's now with the England squad. While Maddison just sits at home crying on Eddie Hearn's podcast. So this game, apart from the managers, didn't really have much of a bite. It was just a bit meh. Anyway, that's what you let me know what do you think. Alright, let me know in the comment section below. Enjoy the video. Don't forget to like, subscribe as always. I'll talk to you in a while.